In the beginning of the 2011-2012 season, the New York Knicks had high expectations with their big three in Carmelo, Amari, and Tyson Chandler, but their playstyles clashed with Mike D'Antoni's system. To make things worse, the Knicks' two starting point guards in Baron Davis and Mike Bibby were both hurt, which left the Knicks with Tony Douglas and Jeremy Lin on the depth chart. With Tony Douglas struggling mightily with his shooting, combined with the Knicks on a back-to-back-to-back and Iman Shumpert in foul trouble, this opened up an opportunity for one of the unlikeliest underdog stories in NBA history. To provide some context, the Knicks were the second highest in three-point attempts during the 2011-2012 season, but they didn't have anyone that could get to the rim, and that's where Jeremy Lin provided a spark. In addition, Jeremy Lin gave Mike D'Antoni a chance to play his usual system, spread the defense out and play pick and roll. When watching Lin's game, his most obvious strength was his ability to attack the rim, especially with his right hand. No matter what he was doing, it was always with his right hand. For example, even with Chandler setting a screen to Lin's left, he still tries attacking right, and as he dribbles with his left, he goes up with his right and banks it in. Regardless, he wasn't scared of the contact and continued attacking. Along with the fact that the Nets didn't know his strength, he was able to get wherever he wanted. For example, Darren Williams cheats to try and get over the screen, but he's giving Lin his right hand and a clear path to the basket, and he gets the and one. But because of his driving ability, the Nets started going under screens and daring him to shoot, and Lin struggled initially. When playing off ball, the Nets would focus their attention on Carmelo, which left Lin open, but he missed open spot-ups. However, in the fourth, Lin got to his right hand through the pick and roll and made two mid-range jumpers that got the Knicks going again. In the two games I watched, Lin only tried one jumper going left and it wasn't pretty. But because Lin started making jumpers, the Nets started hard hedging him and forcing him to get the ball out of his hands, but he had a counter to that. Here, Lin tries crossing over Darren Williams before asking for a pick. As Humphries comes up, he splits the trap, takes the contact, and puts in the layup. Next time down, Chandler sets a pick, but Lin crosses left to right and gets to his right hand for the layup to seal the game. This performance gave D'Antoni the confidence to start him from this day on, which created opportunities for Lin to have one of his most iconic moments. For a little more context, the Raptors in the 2011-2012 season were a good defensive team under their new coach Dwayne Casey. He had improved their defensive rating from 111.3, which was worst in the league, to 103, good for 12th. And he made sure to take Lin seriously. From the start, the Raptors hard hedged and forced Lin to get the ball out of his hands. The Knicks were successful a couple times, including using a Chandler slip. But overall, the paint was clogged with two big men in the paint, which meant Lin either had to force it or kick it to someone else. But with Lin as only the true creator, the Knicks had a hard time scoring. So how did they adjust? To begin with, Lin started pushing the pace in the second half, which created more pressure on the Raptors. This allowed the Knicks to get deeper in the paint or created more wide open looks for others, even off makes. But more importantly, D'Antoni went away from the Stoudemire and Chandler combo and spaced the floor for Lin to attack. One of the things lost about this game was Steve Novak's impact. Even though the guy only hit 1 3, his presence on the floor changed the way the Raptors defended pick and rolls and created more space for everyone to attack, which led to more ball movement and wide open shots. And even though plus minus isn't the greatest statistic to show a player's impact, it was clear that Novak's presence on the court opened up more opportunities and resulted in a plus 10. And this spacing allowed the Knicks to creep back in the game. Which leads us to the last 2 minutes of the game. D'Antoni decided to go with talent over continuity as he inserted Stoudemire and Chandler back in the game. But Shumpert's defense against Jose Calderon gave the Knicks a chance to win the game, including this steal which brought them within 3. And this set up 2 Jeremy Lin moments. So after a Raptors miss, Jeremy Lin pushes the pace, which helps create open lanes, and he gets to his biggest strength to tie the game. And this leads us to the final possession of the game. The Raptors trap Lin, and Chandler's lack of player movement combined with poor spacing from Amari eventually leads to a Shumpert pull-up jumper. But with Chandler's tip out, the Knicks have another chance. And to create the most space possible, D'Antoni decides to let Lin ISO at the top of the key, so Lin waves off Chandler, and you know the rest.
And let the Raptors set up their D. The crowd on its feet here at the Air Canada Center. Lin puts it up. Bang! Jeremy Lin from downtown, and the Knicks take the lead. Amazing here at the Air Canada Center.
To understand how great Jeremy Lin was, look at this graphic. For the 2-week span, he was scoring more than everyone in the league, and it makes sense why the Knicks were so good during this stretch. His playstyle gave D'Antoni someone that fit his system. If you had noticed, D'Antoni was great with teams like the Suns and the Rockets, both who had great point guards in Chris Paul or James Harden and Steve Nash, but he was terrible with the Knicks and Lakers, whose roster had 2 big men each, which mucked up spacing and created less opportunities to play faster. Thus, when Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire came back, it's not surprising why the Knicks struggled because 2 different playstyles were not going to coexist. So I hope you guys got a better understanding of how Jeremy Lin and the Knicks were so good for a 3-week span. Before I end this video, if you have a video idea, I have a Google form in the description below. Besides that, if you want more NBA content, follow my Instagram at The Coaches Report and my Twitter, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.